Hi, everyone. Welcome to the CURES show, where we explore cutting-edge wellness from credible sources. I'm Kara Sundlin. And is there a science to really staying motivated and even living a longer and healthier life? People are spending millions of dollars on longevity. Well, sports medicine doctor Jordan Metzl takes a deep dive into that idea in his new book. It's called Push: Unlock the Science of Fitness Motivation to Embrace Health and Longevity. And Dr. Metzl is here with us right now. Thanks for being with us.
My pleasure, Kara. Nice to see you.
Yeah, there's so much going on right now with spending money on longevity. And we do a lot of stories on this, from red light therapy to special supplements, NAD, to all of these things. I'm sure you see it. Can we really do all this, even pay money and live longer, or are we kind of just being scammed?
It's a great question. So listen, by 2030, it is estimated that we are going to spend globally $8 trillion on longevity and wellness. This is one of the fastest growing sectors of the economy. So there's no doubt that people are spending more and more money on the idea of living healthier and longer, all kind of lumped into one area. So the question you asked, longevity, can we actually make a difference in our lifespan? Well, one of the things I've tried to look at and really evaluate is what's true, what's hype, what are the things we can make a difference with? Now, it is definitely true that in the past 150 years, we've done an amazing job in medicine in extending lifespan. So if you were alive in Connecticut in the early 1900s or late 1800s, your life expectancy was about 41, 42 years old. If you're alive 150 years later now, 160 years later in Connecticut, your life expectancy is about 81 years old. So we've almost doubled life expectancy in the past 150 years. That was not through red light therapy. That was not through cold plunges. That was through clean food, clean water, antibiotics, vaccines, medicine. All those things have really gotten us to a point where life expectancy is almost double. That is longevity. Now, is it true that some of these other things like, NAD or different supplements might make a small difference in longevity? Maybe a teeny bit, but not much.
Okay.
The reason those things make a difference is healthy longevity, living healthier, and that's where we can make a big difference.
Well, right. I mean, a lot of people say, I don't want to live forever if I can't be healthy. So we're talking about health span. And you get into this in your book about Push. And we'll talk about, one of the, actually, I'll just go there now. One of the easiest things that really, for the most part, could be free, that really does expand our longevity and our health span is just exercise. Is that right?
That's right. So the idea of Push is my idea as a sports medicine doctor who not only takes care of patients, but also runs fitness classes to get people up and moving. I wanted to look at what are the things that we can do to get people healthy. And by far, the best thing you can do to maximize your health span, meaning your healthy longevity across your years, is get up and move every single day and keep your muscles across your lifespan. Those seem to make the biggest difference. And we have great evidence on, a combination of multiple things, diet, sleep, exercise, friendship communities, nutrition. All these things together make a difference, but the exercise piece is particularly important for everybody. And so the idea of Push is not only I know what I need to do, but how do I get myself to do it every day, every week, every year, for many, many years? Because we have people listening in who may be in their 50s. We have people listening who may be in their 80s or 90s.
Yeah.
So the message is the same for all of them, is that I want them to move every single day and work on building their muscles at least 3 times a week.
Yeah. So what do you do when you don't feel motivated? Because sometimes we get very motivated. Other times you're like, yep, not motivated.
Well, that's exactly right. So that's why, as a sports medicine doctor, when I put up somebody's X-ray on a screen and say, listen, you have some arthritis in your knee, and look, you can see these 2 bones are more narrow than they should be. There's some little bone spurs on the bottom of your knee bones. You're getting some arthritis in your knee, and they're like, oh yeah, I see, I have some arthritis in my knee, and what I'm showing them on the picture can help explain what I'm telling them. The problem is motivation is very murky, right? I mean, you have it, you had it, you used to have it, You want to have it. You had it before. Now you've lost it. I had it in December. I've lost it in January. It comes and goes. We don't really have a great scientific tool. So one of the things I wanted to do and push was, first of all, explain what we know about motivation. And then number two is, how do I evaluate my own motivation? What tools do I have to know, am I motivated? Am I motivated today? What can I do to evaluate where I am now so then I can kind of gauge where I want to be a couple months from now, and what are the ways to think about that?
Okay. So first of all, when you say exercise, you're not talking about it doesn't have to be really complicated or you don't even have to go to a gym. The most important thing is that we do this on a regular basis, and that's where the motivation comes in.
That's right. So a couple things I talk about. Number one is the holy grail of fitness is compliance, doing it. And the holy grail of compliance is having fun. And part of having fun includes, making sure you're part of a community or you've incentivized yourself to things to make it like you want to do it. And so incentivization is a big piece of what I kind of go into. And then the different types of exercises, you may have seen different studies looking at, tennis is the most important sport for longevity. Whether or not that's true or not, definitely people stick with activities they like doing. So if you love playing tennis, keep playing tennis. If you love ballroom dancing, keep ballroom dancing. If you love yoga, do yoga. We know that people stick with activities, not surprisingly, they like doing. Some people like running, some people hate it. And so it's really, the idea is to maximize what you like doing, which will definitely help your motivation.
Okay, so let's talk about motivation and how we can get it when we feel like we don't have it, because a lot of people made a lot of resolutions, as they always do, come January 1st. And then you get to the end of your day and you say, okay, I'm just too tired. I'll do it tomorrow.
That couch sounds awesome. That couch sounds awesome.
And we all have busy lives. I get it. I'm a busy mom. I'm working. There are days where I know I should go do something and I'm not because I'm just not feeling it. So what do we do when we don't have that motivation?
So when I started this project, and so Push is actually my fifth book about the interface of medicine and science and fitness. So my idea is that I want people to move. I want them to understand their bodies. I want them to understand what can keep them moving. And so when I was looking at motivation, I had the idea when I started that there were some of my patients were very motivated. Some people were not motivated. And as I interviewed people over a period of years, and some people in their 90s that are still doing regular exercise, I came to the conclusion that every single person is motivated. The people that are successful over decades are people that have learned to channel that motivation into a direction that makes them successful. And so I think everybody's motivated. The ones that seem to stick to it the best have learned to channel their behaviors. And so what are some examples of that? Things like, joining an exercise class or joining a gym or joining a walking group or prepaying sessions with a trainer or picking an exercise place like a gym or something they like doing on the way home from their work if they're commuting. Things that we call lower your cost to act, meaning they make the desired outcome easier to do. And if you can get people to start thinking about doing those things, it can really change the equation in terms of what they're doing and how often they're going to do it.
Okay, I think we even have a picture of your book. So if we do, I'll have John put that up. But you've spent a lot of time learning about how we can do this. So let me just do some of the basic questions because people have it all in their feeds. If you are someone like me, all you're seeing for women's health is all the best kind of exercise or lift heavy or do this or do that. And so maybe there is some science to that, but let's talk about how we're gonna, if it matters. Like, let's just say you're not motivated to really lift heavy weights, yet you're hearing you should. Would you say lift them anyway, or would you say do something else?
The science on that is really mixed. I think doing something, so at the back of Push, I have a whole series of exercises that people can do at home. The whole back of the book is like, I don't know, 75, 80 exercises that people can do at home to build and maintain their muscle mass. And so the idea here is not, do I kind of go to the gym? The idea here is, what can I do on my own at home? Because I got like 2 kids and 1 kid's sleeping and 1 kid's at soccer practice and I got 20 minutes. I don't have time to go to the gym. What can I do on my own?
Yeah.
Now, that's strength training. That does not need heavy weights. Body weight or light weights are fine. Now, some people like lifting heavy. Some. That's fine. I have no problem with that. I definitely go through in the book the science of muscle span, keeping your muscles across your lifespan. For all of us, the further we are from 20 years old, the faster we lose muscle, and we
Mm.
lose 10% of our muscle mass per decade over the age of 60. So this is kind of a one-way street that starts heading in one direction. Um, and so the idea here is that we want to make sure that people are comfortable building and maintaining muscle however they're going to do it. And so what are some great ways to do that? At home exercises, at home videos, at home fitness communities. There's not a one size fits all. Again, the holy grail is what you will do. If you can do it in your garage for 15 minutes, do it in your garage for 15 minutes. If you can go to a gym, go to a gym. I think consistency is key. At least twice a week of strength training is important, however you want to do it.
Okay. So, for instance, our producer, Kate, I tease her that she goes to Bougie Gym, but she's been amazing, a rock star. She went from not doing anything, busy mom with two little kids, and now goes to the gym every single day because she loves it at this really nice place she goes to, and they have all these fun things. And so, she's spending a little more money on herself, but I guess she doesn't miss it probably because she is investing and she thinks it's fun. So I guess you're saying first find the fun, and then we're going to want to do it. And
dude, absolutely. Like, lots of love to Bougie Kate. I'm proud of her. That's exactly right. So Bougie Kate figured out, listen, I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm producing these shows. I got 2 kids at home. I got a lot of things. I want to be Bougie Kate for 40 minutes a day and go to the gym. And I've been making everybody dinner. I've been making sure everybody looks good on TV. Give me 40 minutes to be Bougie Kate. That will get me to go. And what Bougie Kate has figured out is, if I spend extra money on Bougie Kate, I will go and I will be consistent. And she realized that, and God love her for doing that. That's exactly what I want. So not everybody's Bougie Kate. We have maybe kind of low maintenance Larry who just wants to go out and walk around the park. And low maintenance Larry's like, I just want to go out and smell some sea air, in Stamford, Connecticut. That's fine for him. And so there's not a one size fits all. The key is consistency. Figuring out what makes you tick is the key to success.
Okay. I like walking. I don't know. I know walking doesn't burn as much as running. I hate running. You would say I should walk instead?
It's better than sitting around doing nothing. But if you're walking and that's all you're going to do, which is great,
I'm doing
then
the
I want you
strength
to say,
training
listen,
twice a week. But like on the other days, I would rather put on a podcast and just go for a walk.
which is terrific. But every 5 minutes, every time you get to a certain light post, you're going to do 15 air squats. And then the next post, 15 air squats. You're going to build some strength and a little bit of intensity into what you do. I called my book Push for 3 reasons: to learn to push yourself mentally, consistency; push yourself physically, get out the door and do it; and push yourself physiologically, getting your heart rate up. I have a lot of evidence in the book on the importance of intensity, meaning getting your heart rate up, not through like burpees if you don't like those, but maybe at the station where you are, taking the stairs every time I go up the stairs.
For sure.
1 stair, or if it's getting easier, 2 stairs at a time. Start building intensity into my everyday. We call those exercise snacks, and they add up over time. And so putting a little bit of intensity in what you do can make a big difference.
I do that. I do squats while I wait for the coffee to brew in the morning. I do, because other people like you have told me that. So exercise snacks. I like that we have a word for that. We've now, Bougie Kate and I and the rest of our pod have started these 10-second water chugs where we count to 10. I said, let's add 10 squats onto that. So if we do something fun at work, which we look a little ridiculous, but if we drink water and then do 10 squats a few times a day, that's the kind of thing you're talking about. We're pushing ourselves to just get out of the chair, do something that doesn't take any time, and that actually really makes a difference.
WFSB is going to be more fit because you're doing these activities. Absolutely. No question about it.
Okay, so let's talk about some of these other things that people are hearing. Because, for women, we're also hearing that it's a lot harder for us, especially as you start going through perimenopause and menopause, that we're gaining fat faster, and that you're really racing against the muscle clock even more than men. Number one, is that true from your perspective and your science? And what's the solution for that?
It is true. And we call that sarcopenic obesity, meaning I'm losing muscle. I'm replacing that muscle with fat. And listen, all of our bodies and our body composition changes as we get older. There's no question about it, every one of us. That being said, if you are consistent with your exercise and consistent with your strength training, you can really minimize that effect. In my lectures I go out and do a lot of corporate talks and things. And in my lectures, I have on slide one, the cross-sectional anatomy on an MRI of somebody who does a lot of triathlons and their leg muscle. And their leg is like a big quad muscle with a little small femur bone inside, which is where it should be. Then I have the same picture of a 76-year-old guy that has been really inactive, and he's got a ton of subcutaneous fat and just a little bit of squiggly muscle on the MRI. And then I have a 70-year-old who's also still doing triathlon, and his leg looks almost exactly like the 40-year-old's leg. Now, does that mean the 70-year-old is 40? This whole idea of reversing your biological age, your chronological age, and your biological age? No, the 70-year-old is still 70, but he is a much healthier 70 than if he'd been the same guy sitting around. And so this whole idea of building and maintaining muscle throughout your lifespan is really important, and particularly for women, but for everybody. It's important to be consistent. You'll hear me say again and again, I want you to push yourself to be consistent. Consistency is the key message here. And so being consistent every day, every week, every year with your strengthening and your activity is what I'm after.
What's your bare minimum? How much a day?
So it depends on what you're doing. I think the bare minimum on exercise is about 30 minutes a day of something. You can shorten that time frame from a health point of view to about 15 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day if you're putting intensity. So, wake up and give me 15, 20 minutes of intense exercise. Jump squats, lunges, burpees, get that heart rate up, start sweating. 15 minutes of intense exercise, HIIT training is great for people. So I want people to rethink what they're doing. Everybody has time for something. Maybe they don't have time to do an extended something, but everybody has time for something.
High intensity interval training, HIIT, then that is, I actually enjoy that. That's what we do twice a week here. There's a trainer who comes and he kills us. And those of us who make it up there in between shows, it doesn't take a lot of time. And we're done in like 25 minutes. I think it's 5 rounds with every minute on the minute, and we're dying at the end. But so we can shorten the time if we increase the intensity and still get the longevity bang for our buck.
Absolutely. So there's a big study that just came out on this earlier in the year, looking at a big number, almost 60,000 subjects, looking at kind of regular exercise versus people doing more intense exercise and the health outcomes, and things such as metabolic control, risk of diabetes, risk of cancer, risk of heart disease, all the health benefits we think about were basically better with shorter periods of intense exercise versus just walking. So again, walking better than just sitting around doing nothing, which is the worst. But intense exercise, pushing yourself, very valuable several times a week as a counter to just kind of steady state exercise.
Okay, so a lot of people want to exercise. Primarily, their main motivation is because they want to look better. They want to fit into their jeans better. And then sometimes we hear that exercise won't do that. It's really, you can't out-train a fork, or it's all diet. What's your perspective on that?
I did a whole column just on this exact subject. So listen, in the old days, looking good in your jeans was like, like Twiggy, the old model who was super stick thin. We've had a different evolution of what it means to look good. And what it means to look good now is to have some muscle. And so looking good in your jeans is, first of all, a lot about keeping some meat on your bone in the form of muscle if you can keep it. That's number one. Now, when it comes to weight loss, particularly, as we age, it's harder to outrun your diet, or, it's harder to out exercise Mother Nature. So what you eat is probably a bigger predictor that no matter what you're doing, if you're training for marathons or whatever, your body will get used to that level of exercise and will accommodate to that. And so even if you're doing, intense things, for most people, your body will accommodate to that level. And so it's a whole cycle of what you eat and what you do together. But when it comes to just weight control, what you eat is probably at least as important as what you are doing. Now, for health, what you are doing is hugely important. As I tell my patients all the time, I would rather you be mild to moderately overweight and active than very thin and inactive. The benefits come with activity and with muscle.
Say that again.
I want people,
That's
I want to say it
important.
again. I'd rather you be mild to moderately overweight and active than very thin and inactive. The health benefits come with activity and muscle. And so I want people to make sure they're not obsessing about what they look like in the mirror It's important, but I want to make sure people are making sure they're building their muscle. And in this age of GLP-1, there's been, a rush towards let me do the shots and lose all my weight and lose all my muscle, by the way, too, which has been a big problem. Um, I want people to think about being healthy, not about being thin. Sometimes they're the same, but I want them to move and to build muscle as their primary motive.
Yeah. Muscle is like our compound interest for our body for sure, right? I mean, we all want our investments to build over time, but we got to race the clock with muscle. I was going to ask you about GLP-1s, and since you brought them up, let's go there now. You spoke with my co-host Scott Haney earlier. He's lost 50 pounds. He's very open about the shot. He says all of his markers have come down. He also is working with a doctor, so he's strength training twice a week. He's eating protein, all those things. What is your take on GLP-1s? A lot of people are doing them, saying that they are going to improve their longevity because of how much they're taking away some of the chronic disease markers.
Great question. So, GLP-1 is a class of medicine called a peptide, and peptides are things like insulin, GLP-1. These are targeted proteins put together with a targeted objective. In the GLP-1, the effect is it reduces appetite. Now, number one, peptides are all the rage, and the majority of peptides are not FDA approved, and people are getting these just kind of over the internet. At least half of these are made in China. I'm very standoffish with people just taking peptides when they don't know what they're doing, not medically supervised or prescribed things like GLP-1. That being said, GLP-1 has been well studied, and at least for where we are now, it seems to be very safe. And also, we know that obesity has a significant set of health risks. So if people are tried and they can't lose their weight, there definitely is a role for GLP-1, which can really help reverse, some of the problems of obesity. Now, the downside of GLP-1 is some of the long-term data we just don't have. So it may turn out that there are consequences. There's no such thing as a free lunch. And so it may turn out in the future there are some consequences from GLP-1, as we found with many of the medicines we've prescribed over time that we just don't know about now. But we do know that if you have chronic obesity, there are some real negative health consequences with that. And so that's the balancing act. If it's somebody like Scott who's tried really hard and still is 50 pounds overweight and wants to really try and feel so much better, I think that's amazing. But the other piece I like that he's doing is he's doing it in conjunction with a doctor, and he's lifting weights. So when you lose that weight very rapidly, not only do you lose body fat, but you lose muscle. And that loss of muscle carries with it all of these negative health consequences, both now and later. And so you have to really fight to keep your muscle while you're losing the weight.
Yeah, for sure. And that is one of the things, and on Great Day Connecticut, we've done stories with his doctor, who's Cleveland Clinic trained, about the requirement of eating the protein and doing the exercise. So let's go into diet. There's push. I mean, if I could spend like half my life worrying about how many grams of protein I'm getting a day, do we really need that to maintain our muscle and to lose weight and to all those things? Do we need to be choking down a chicken breast at every meal?
As they say in South Carolina, pshaw. No, you do not have to do that. I think we're protein crazy. Literally, they're trying to put protein and protein powder in every single thing you do. Like at Starbucks, you name it, they're like loading in protein. Most Americans get plenty of protein in their diet and don't have to start loading protein. We don't have a ton of evidence on this. Now, as we age, we probably need a little more protein in our diet. And if you want to put a little more protein in your diet, that's fine. This whole thing of flipping the food pyramid upside down and loading in red meat, we just have no evidence on that at all. Now, I'm a big fan of putting a little more protein in your diet. It can help with kind of cellular regeneration. If you're not protein deficient, it can help with mitochondrial volume and functionality. It can help with tissue repair. A lot of value to that if you're protein deficient. But if you're just loading protein on protein on protein, it doesn't make any difference at all. And especially if you're not doing the other part, which is exercising and building muscle. So I have no problem with protein. I have no problem with creatine. But I think we've gone a little too far off the deep end. I'm sorry?
Should we take creatine? That's also all over our feeds, that creatine is going to help preserve our brain. Creatine is going to help our muscles. Creatine.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think it's been pretty well studied over many years. It's not a new powder. It's been around for 40 plus years. It's naturally found in chicken and fish. If you're not getting enough of those things, having a little bit of extra creatine can't hurt you. You can try it out and see what it feels like. The upside, some people claim it makes them sharper and build more muscle. The downside, it tends to lead to water retention, so you can feel quite bloated.
Yeah.
Your muscles can retain more water volume. There may be a higher risk of muscle injury and running, sprinting athletes like football players or soccer players on creatine. So there's no such thing as a free lunch. You can try it out and see it. I think it's probably pretty safe.
Speaking of sprinting, that is something that also is making into the feeds, but from more credible people, that the idea that at the end of every workout, we should try to do like Sprint 8. At the gym, I actually put on Sprint 8, and it tells me to do 30-second sprints, and that, we create more growth hormone. It's so much more effective. Should we be trying to sprint at the end of our walks or whatever we're doing?
Well, that exactly falls into the idea that I'm talking about, which is push. I want you to push yourself physiologically. Some people can sprint, some people can squat, some people can bike, some people can swim. But everybody can increase, some people can take the stairs. The idea of increasing your heart rate has a lot of value. However you do it is fine. If you can sprint, that's great. Not everybody can. But I like the idea of pushing yourself physiologically, which is the third part of my message.
Yeah.
Physically, mentally, and physiologically.
Yeah, well, you should know because you've done dozens of marathons and multiple Ironman triathlons. And some people might hear that and go, okay, I can't listen to him because that's not what I do. But the science is there that it's fair to say living a good life, living at a good weight, and living with a great health span is probably a lot simpler than we're making it right now.
That's my exact point. You hear all these people kind of throwing all these things at you that are super expensive, and you have to buy this supplement stack and submit to this and get this screening MRI once a year. And, the stuff that makes the biggest difference, exercise, sleep, social community, smiling, diet. Those things are the most important things, stress reduction. We have great evidence on how these things all interrelate.
Yeah.
And so think about those things as the main things you do. They're all free. Do those things. And if you want to experiment some other stuff around the margins, that's fine. But the 98% of the difference is all about the things that are free and that will make a difference for your health and healthy longevity.
Okay. In our final minute, let me do some rapid fire with you. And you just tell me yes or no if it matters, because I'll do it in 30 seconds and we'll tell people where to find your book. But working out in the morning or at night?
Whatever you like. We have evidence that the most compliant are the first thing in the morning people because their schedule's fixed. They set their alarm early, they get up and they get it done. We see life getting in the way in the afternoon or evening, but if you can do it and you can be consistent after work, whatever works better for you is fine. But all things being equal, morning is probably better from an efficacy point of view following through. In terms of exercise benefit, there's some evidence that evening may be a little bit better for people in terms of their bodies warmed up and they can do it. So it's better. I'd rather you do it, but if all things being equal, just do it.
Just do it.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you so much. The book is called Push, Dr. Jordan Metzl, and Unlock the Science of Fitness, Motivation to Embrace Health and Longevity. Doctor, thanks for being with us. You can follow him on Instagram. That's free too, at Dr. Jordan Metzl. Thanks for being here with CURES. And we'll see you in just a moment on WFSB Plus. Thanks so much.